Hi everyone, it is March, and we're finally winding down to see the Snow White movie. And it feels like a big deal for anyone who's been on movie YouTube for a while because that has been the film of most volatile discussion for about 2 years now. But the situation behind the scenes is really winding down, as I've covered before, as Disney has really done everything they can to downplay the marketing and not really have much marketing in order to avoid any more controversy on the film. And it's really astounding to me just how much they've shut up about it. And there's been some videos out there about how Disney canceled the premiere. And originally, I was like, that's not exactly the case. They canceled the London premiere. They're not allowing press at the U.S. premiere. But now it really does sound like they're not even going to have a US premiere at all. And there was this very interesting article from an actor from the movie, one of the actors who voices one of the dwarves, who gives a little insight into what's going on at Disney. He says that Disney is afraid of releasing this movie, of having a red carpet. He says that there's not even really going to be a red carpet for this film. It's just going to be kind of a pre-party. Everyone's going to watch the movie and go home. So there's not even going to really be a premiere for it. And he says the reason why, even though he wasn't directly told by Disney, is he thinks that they're afraid of more Rachel Zegler controversies. They're afraid, I guess, I can infer, of there being a red carpet and press being there and asking questions, and everybody carefully giving their carefully cue card and instructions of what they can and can't say. And it's just going to be really awkward, or maybe somebody's going to say something and it's going to set off the internet again. And that Disney is just really afraid right now. They're running scared. And so that is the situation with the movie, with the real downplayed marketing, with the canceled London premiere and now practically canceled US premiere, and that they just want to get this over with, get it out there, and move on. And that is really interesting to me, how much internet discourse severely affected this film and how it affected Disney with all of this from the beginning. As someone who has been on this ride from the beginning, which felt a little bad about, I don't mean to recap over and over again, but, felt a little bad about harping on Rachel Zegler, but then she just kept putting her foot in it. And so that's kind of understandable then, that Disney is just afraid. Like, they clearly talked to her in the first place about changing her tone on the movie, but then she just kept going right back into it. And then there was the whole thing with Rachel Zegler versus Gal Gadot. For those who don't know, Rachel Zegler is pro-Palestine. Gal Gadot is Israeli, and so there is tension there. And if you'll notice, they did do a premiere in Japan and Spain, but Gal Gadot was nowhere to be found. It was just Rachel Zegler solo. I think that that's another reason why potentially Disney might not want to do a premiere after the actress who played Sabra was protested at the Captain America Brave New World premiere. But really, I think we need to be honest. There has been far more hoopla, so to speak, over Rachel Zegler than there was even Gal Gadot. That is a little bit more recent. But Rachel Zegler really has been fueling that side against Gal Gadot, and that's also what's made a lot of the press of this movie very, very awkward. So Rachel Zegler is going to be just fine, and I don't wish her any ill. Honestly, she just got a role in a new stage production. It looks like what I might have predicted before is that she's going to get a lot of roles on stage plays. I think she kind of fits into that community from what I understand about it. Good for her. I don't wish her to lose out, no matter what's going on behind the scenes, no matter what she's said. I don't wish her to lose out on work and livelihood forever. So good for her getting more stage work. However, if I were an executive behind the scenes, though, I would never hire her for a project again. I find it very unlikely that Disney will ever work on her again with her again, unless it's a very small project where she does voice work, I guess. But she's just caused way too much trouble for them, and they finally got her to calm down. Talking about the Snow White movie and making all these political statements online. But even after that, there was the animosity that she portrayed against Gal Gadot online. There was a poster that was posted with both Gal and Zegler, and she took Gal out of the picture and reposted that online. And this is after all of the controversies that Disney tried to get her to shut up on. And, just the resentment that seemed to be happening at the Oscars. So it's like, even when they told her to be quiet, she still found ways to try to make her voice heard, I guess, and how she feels about things. And that's just like, why would you ever want to work with a person who can't even just keep it together until they move on to the next job? She just kept finding ways. It's like, this person, her activism is more important than her current job, and she can't keep that separate, which is why I think you're not going to want to hire her again if in these times that are more volatile and when Disney is really trying to turn things around. And they are. And we're going to talk about that. But at the same time, like, I'm reading this article from this actor from the Snow White movie, and he's talking about how some of the controversies were overblown. Like, according to him, there were never going to be 7 magical persons in place of dwarves. It was always going to be CGI dwarves voice over, and that they had prepared that from the beginning, and you can see that behind the scenes with CGI, which is a little bit bad on the part of the CGI dwarves because they still look kind of freaky. But he said that there was never going to be 7 magical creatures, and that some of the controversies and thoughts in this movie have been overblown. And I just think that Snow White became a lightning rod for all the frustrations of what's been happening in media and being too PC with all that they were talking about with the film and disparaging things of the past. And I thought, it didn't need to be this way. If you didn't want a Caucasian actress to play Snow White, you could have gotten an Asian actress to play Snow White because you could still have skin as white as snow. That's the real controversy here, is like, this is a character where it's in the name what the color of her skin is supposed to be. So you could have gotten an Asian actress to play her. I'm looking at the marketing now, and they're just really treating it as like a family fun afternoon occasion, and it works. Like, this marketing, that what little they've been doing, I don't have a problem with it at all, with the songs or any of it. It just feels like more of a traditional Disney release. I noticed in my last video, they have not made anything about the fact that they hired a Latina or mixed race actress to play this role, like they were really pushing with Halle Bailey. They've just made it, family fun outing, and it really, really works, I would say. When they have Rachel Zegler singing in front of the castle that was the inspiration for the original castle from Snow White, I'm like, all of this works, and they've been styling her great on those carpet events, and I'm like, you could have made, and if you watch like the show Once Upon a Time that Disney produced, and they have a great reimagining of the story of Snow White there, it's like, you could have done a great new version of Snow White, and it probably would have made a lot of money. And we have to see, because some people are wondering if this is going to be a Mufasa situation, if it's really going to be that bad. Because remember, the controversy comes over everything that happened behind the scenes, not the movie itself. It might even end up being a harmless film that might even have legs at the box office. And it's like, it didn't have to be this way. It didn't have to be so controversial. And I think with any other actress, even if they had, I think, Halle Bailey did get hate, and it should not have been directed at her at all, but she was a very nice person coming off in interviews and such. So I think that it actually calmed it down with the controversy over race bending actresses. But I think if you had a person who was a Halle Bailey type cast in this film, it wouldn't have been that controversial, or as controversial, and it would have calmed down a lot easier. But this one with Rachel Zegler putting her foot into it, I think that it just blew up into a lot bigger than it needed to be. But Disney is going to be just fine. I hear people say, "Oh, this is going to destroy Disney forever." No, Disney is not going to be destroyed, ladies and gentlemen. Because in the wake of the box office just continuously being bad, we continuously hear about $300 million flops over and over again. Disney is still on top of it. Last year, Inside Out 2, Deadpool and Wolverine, highest grossing films of the year. They're going to have Avatar 2 this or Avatar 3 this year. I think it's this year, isn't it? Or is it next year? James Cameron never gets those films done. But they're still they've got the Lilo and Stitch trailer that they've really been promoting in the wake of not promoting Snow White, and that trailer I've seen universally well received by everyone. And I got to admit, I'm not a big Lilo and Stitch person, but the trailer actually looked pretty good. And so, like, that's probably going to be a big release this May, even if Marvel falls through. So Disney's still on top of it. What they want is they want to get back to when they were the family entertainment company and they weren't getting into all these controversies, and that's what they're going to try to. And I think it's entirely possible. I think that they need to realize there's a lot of of people that they have shunned out as they've tried to go forward, rejecting the past and rejecting the ideas from customers, saying that the old movies are all bad that you liked and we need to change them. I think that they have a lot of work, and it does need to be acknowledged the amount that Disney has actually challenged parents on a lot of this stuff and gone to war. And they're just trying to go back to super non controversial, just family fun entertainment. And it's going to take them a little while to get back that reputation fully. But I think that they're trying to get on their way to that and they just want to get this over with. But it's amazing how much online voices were heard over this film and how much it is affecting how Disney is reacting with this film. And I hope people realize that. Like, it does matter when people talk about this stuff, and it does, at least at this point, it really is having effect on movie companies. Now, comics, that's a different scenario. But what do you guys think about all of this? Do you think that the backlash is justified? After going through my own journey with it, I think that in the end, I think that was justified. I thought once again, I was perfectly willing to let it go until Rachel Zegler came out again and said that everyone was just intentionally misinterpreting her words. And that got to me because that came off as me as if I was intentionally misinterpreting, and I was not. And so, yeah, I think that all's well that ends in the well, right? Disney's going to move on from this type of film. Rachel Zegler is not going to completely lose her livelihood. She is still going to get roles on stage, but I don't think it would be wise to cast her in a mega $1 million movie again, at least for a very, very long time. But that is all I got for you guys today. What do you think of this Snow White situation? Are you going to see it? Are you that curious to see what this film actually is going to be? I know I am. Thank you all for watching. Please consider supporting me on Patreon if you haven't. I have a short film playlist I would love you guys to watch as I am learning filmmaking, and I will see you guys next time.